9, 8, 7. We have a go for main engine start. 4, 3, 2, 1, and liftoff.
Yeah. Turn the lights up. Turn the mics on. Welcome to SFL Nights. Microphones live, from simulation football, yeah, the whole league crowd. From kickoff dreams to the final drive, every story told when the spotlight arrived. Breaking down game, fucking wins and takes, big time moments, clutch time breaks. From rookies to vets, everybody relate. If you live in SFL, then you're tuned in today. Highlights rolling, hot takes cooking, behind the scenes while the league keeps moving. From game plans big to laugh from gets. AJ bring the energy, she bring the bets. SFL Nights with AJ Striker. Turn it on loud. Go higher and higher. Football talk. So full, so fire. Guest in the building, wholly inspired. SFL Nights with AJ Striker. Prime time vibes and competitive fire. Simulation star. League wide chatter. If it's SFL life, it don't get better. Draft day hopes and playoff runs like a boom stories. Buzzer beater wins, breaking down dive. Calling big time plays every episode. Got that game day, hey. Trying new flavors, rating the bikes. On the table with league insight. Owners the players all sharing the mic. Every cowboy real every single night. For real mood, talk to fear and reactions. League-wide love with real connections. If you bid in this NFL, you already family. It's more than a podcast. It's community. With AJ Striker. Turn it up loud. Go higher and higher. Football talk. So full, so fire. Guest in the building, whole league inspired. With AJ Striker. Prime time vibes. Benny, cameras roll, every story matter, every voice go from coast to coast, every squad unite, SFL family every night. SFL Nights with AJ Striker. SFL Nights with AJ Striker. SFL Nights. Yeah. Turn the lights on. Yeah. Turn the mics on. Yeah, turn the lights up, turn the mics on. Welcome to SFL Nights.
What is up, SFL Nation, and welcome back to SFL Nights with AJ Striker. Thank you so much for joining me today or tonight or whenever you decided to hit that play button or turn on that radio dial. Really appreciate it, y'all. Now, I have a good show planned for you tonight. Great show, in fact, because I'm featuring one of my favorite all-time foods. We're doing Chicago-style hot dogs on SFL Kitchen tonight. So basically, I already got the hot dogs and everything prepared. I already got the bun steamed. I've already got hot dogs ready. So I'm going to be doing just topping it. So if you're not familiar with how they do it in Chicago, I'm going to bring that to you tonight. With my fourth and goal interview, I have a special guest, a blast from the past interview with Mr. Nelson Lozano. He used to be a part of the SFL. Unfortunately, sometimes life takes you away. You know, I was able to run into him, kind of get, a little bit of what's been going on with him, invite him into the show, and he said he was going to be on. So maybe, just maybe, I can get him to come back to the league. We'll see. No promises there. But first, we are going to start off with my week 6 review. And I actually got a couple three different breakdowns for you tonight. A little bit something a little bit different. And then I have my picks for week 7 that we're going to be doing. And that's pretty much it for the night. So let's go ahead and get started, y'all. Now, I know that he has a time. He's at work. So it's like a time crunch for him. So I'm going to try to get my part over as fast as possible so we can have time for Nelson. All right. pulling up all of the wonderful graphics that I have here tonight. Now, if you're paying attention, um, these were my picks for last week. I didn't do too bad, but again, one of my pet peeves about doing a podcast and then trying to make all these picks of who you think is going to win is that you have to guess your own team, right? And unfortunately, my team did not win. So one of the three that I picks that I got wrong tonight was my own team, unfortunately. So let me tell you how it all worked out, man. It's craziness. I wish y'all would drive quietly outside. Like they wait until I start the show before they start to ride their motorcycles and all this stuff through the neighborhood. Like I could have did that earlier, right? Lord have mercy. Anyway, first of all, here are all the results for the game. All the games that were played. I'm going to go over the first one in detail because that was the Arizona Scorpions taking on the Fort Worth Toros. Now, Arizona went down, man. We went down in Fort Worth. They definitely defended their home turf very well. 24-13. Fort Worth prepared a phenomenal playbook that countered what AZ typically does. They got to me about 5 times in sacking and disrupting our offense in that manner. I actually had an interception as well. And their offense did what it took to make the important plays when it counted. AZ did not play AZ ball in that game. And it was because, in my opinion, we played a little bit too conservatively. When I talked to Coach after the game, he definitely agreed with that. And it was just, trying to keep the targeting rule in mind, noticing things in practice, kind of targeting people a little bit too much and didn't want to get in trouble. But ultimately, changing things up, I think, led to the results for Friday night. Arizona had 158 yards passing, 74 yards rushing, 232 yards total. Scored no points in the first, 10 points in the second, no points in the third, and a field goal in the fourth quarter. AZ held the ball for only 14 minutes and 46 seconds with 1 turnover. Converted fourth down, converted 4 third down conversions out of the 11 that we attempted. And Fort Worth was actually able to score in every quarter, which I actually think was the catalyst in this game. 147 yards passing, 205 yards rushing. So their ground game was on point. 352 yards total. Scored 7 in the first, second, and third. First and second. 7 points in the first and second, 3 points in the third, 7 points in the fourth quarter. Held the ball 25 minutes, 14 seconds, and a clean game. No interceptions. Converted 8 third downs of the 15 that they attempted. And they also had, of course, again, 5 sacks and an interception on yours truly. And a crucial 4th down conversion helped to seal the win for them in that game. So, kudos. You can't argue with a team that did their homework. They made sure they held the offense and they scored when they needed to and took advantage of the interceptions and the sacks. So congratulations. But I'm sure we'll see you again sometime soon. Next up, make sure. Hold up. Trying to get this one up for y'all. Okay, so I'm going to skip around a little bit because I want to go over 2 more games in detail. Houston, as you can see, went against Miami Stingrays, battle in the South Division. Houston won in a big way, 27-7, making them the only undefeated team in the SFL at the moment. Lexington Miners took on the Washington Trident, where Washington won 41-31, skipping the Oklahoma City Renegades game and the LA game, Oklahoma City and LA game right now, because I am going to go over that in detail in here in just a minute. Carolina Skyhawks took on the Minnesota Legends, where Minnesota went on to win 31-13. I am skipping Detroit and Birmingham because we're going to talk a little bit more about that. Those were three of the most interesting games that I saw on the schedule because, as you can tell with the scoring, a lot of these are kind of out of reach. Mexico City took on Chicago. Mexico wins 27-14. Bossier City took on Florida Storm. Florida wins 20-3. And lastly, DC Dragons battled Vancouver Legion. Vancouver won big way, 40-10. Now back to make sure I get my media right. All right. So next game that I kind of wanted to talk about in detail was the Oklahoma City and Los Angeles Lakers game. Very good game. I mean, it was only a 5-point difference between the score in this high-scoring game. OKC was down in the fourth quarter with 7 seconds left on the clock. They just converted a crucial fourth down and 8 yards to get into the end zone. To get into the red zone with only 4 yards to go. Score 4 yards, man. You know, you can win the game, right? So Johnny throws. First was deflected. He throws again, and it was picked off. A heartbreaking end for OKC, especially since they had the lead in the first half. LA turned on the second half comeback button and scored per quarter as follows. LA, 7 points in the first, second, and third quarters, and 14 in the fourth. While OKC scored 3 points in the first, 14 in the second, 3 in the third, and 10 in the fourth. LA had 339 yards passing, 185 yards rushing, 524 yards total, converted all 8 third downs that they attempted. Impressive, man. But did have 2 turnovers. And I mean, if you have a high-scoring game like this, you're bound to throw an interception or 2. Now, come on, man. 524 yards of offense, yeah. They held the ball for 22 minutes, 46 seconds. OKC, 414 yards passing. I mean, dang, Johnny. 71 yards rushing, 485 yards total. Converted 3 third down conversions of the 8 they attempted. Had 3 turnovers, but they did score. OKC's defense did score 7 from one of the turnovers they received, but they held the ball for only 17 minutes and 14 seconds. So having the time of possession, I learned this, just in my tenure here. Time of possession is very important. Converting your third downs is very important. If you can't do that, then honestly, there's no hope for you. You might be able to do it with the fourth down conversion, but those are kind of rare. You know, like Fort Worth had one. It definitely helped them win that game. Last one I kind of want to talk about in detail is, if I can bring it up. Come on. There we go. The Detroit Maulers taking on the Birmingham Hellhounds. Very, very good game to watch. Now, Birmingham won this game 23-16. Detroit went into this game undefeated, but Birmingham had the answer for them. Detroit tried to come back in the fourth, but by then the damage was already done. Birmingham put up a stellar performance on both sides of the ball that led them to their victory performance. Birmingham scored 7 points in the first quarter, 13 in the second, 3 in the third, and no points in the fourth quarter. 176 yards passing, 182 yards rushing, very, very balanced on offense. 358 yards total. They converted 6 third downs out of 10 attempted, scored 7 points off of 2 turnovers. Scored 7 points off one of the turnovers that they had. They had 2 total. No turnovers for them, but they held the ball for 20 minutes, 25 seconds. Detroit scored no points in the first quarter, 3 points in the second, 3 points in the third, 10 points in the fourth quarter. 337 yards passing, 72 yards rushing, 409 yards total, converted 6 third downs out of the 8 they attempted, had 2 turnovers, and held the ball for only 19 minutes, 35 seconds. So, if we didn't learn anything we learned this. You have to make every time you touch the ball, try to score. Do your best because the other team definitely is going to try. So great games. Some of them were a little bit lopsided, definitely, but these coaches are getting better. So these picks are getting harder and harder to maintain every time. So switching things up, we are going to go to week 7 picks. And I had to really think about these. First of all, results. I am 6-3 for week 6. So I mean, I'm not doing terrible when it comes to my wins and losses, like guessing my wins and losses. 6-3 for week 6, 39 right, 13 wrong on the season. So not bad. Let's see how we do for week 7 though. Man, as long as I get my own game right, man, that's the one you really want to get right, bruh. But week 7 goes as follows. The 2-3 Albuquerque Adams will be taking on the 3-2 Florida Storm. West versus the South on March the 6th, this Friday coming up tomorrow. 8 p.m. Eastern, going to be a good game to go watch. I am going to give Florida the edge on this one. They are 3-2. It is a home game. Albuquerque definitely. And you'll notice I actually have most of my picks for the home games. These teams just seem like they're stronger at home, but we'll see. Anybody can lose on any given Sunday, except those last 3. We'll get to that in a second. But Albuquerque definitely has a strong showing. I just think Florida is rolling right now. So I'm giving the edge to Florida, probably like about 1 point score. I mean, not 1 point, but either 3 or 7 points. 0-5 Miami Stingrays taking on the 2-3 Bossier City Steamers. 8:15 p.m. Eastern, also on March the 6th. I'm going with Bossier City on this one. The 3-2 Fort Worth Toros taking on the 4-1 Birmingham Hellhounds. Battle in the South. 9:45 p.m. Eastern. I am going with the Birmingham Hellhounds. Maybe I'm a little bit sore at Fort Worth for winning. I don't know, but no, seriously, Birmingham, you cannot sleep on the Hellhounds. They are both of these teams are actually sleeper teams. I don't think that these teams get enough credit. Their coaching staff gets enough credit. Their teams get enough shine. It was difficult for me to pick between these two, but I am going to give the edge to Birmingham. As I said, home games tend to lean towards the home team, but we'll see. The 0-5 Chicago Warriors will be taking on the 1-4 Lexington Miners. Battle in the East Division at 10 p.m. Eastern. I am going to give the edge to Lexington. They did win 1 game. Chicago's looking for their first one. Hopefully Mike O'Neal can get, the gears in motion for that and take home a win on the road. But I'm giving it to Lexington for right now. 4-1 Vancouver Legion taking on the 5-0 only undefeated team in the Houston Headhunters. West versus the South, March the 7th on Saturday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern. This is going to be a fantastic game. My head says it's going to be a high-scoring game. But knowing these two, they know how to put up points on people. So it may want to be in a defensive battle. And since Houston is going to be at home, I'm going to give them the edge. Houston is kind of scary right now. So Vancouver does have the pieces to beat them. So we're going to see how that fares. That's going to be my game of the week if I had to pick one. 1-4 Oklahoma City Renegades taking on the 4-1 Detroit Maulers. Last week I went against Detroit. And, unfortunately, Andrew, I was right, man. Y'all lost. So I'm picking you to win this week. So y'all make sure that you don't let me down. 6:45 p.m. Eastern on Saturday. The 3-2 Arizona Scorpions, and this is where all the away teams are going to be winning everything. Arizona Scorpions taking on the 3-2 DC Dragons. Oh my gosh, both teams 3-2. Both teams have very strong coaching abilities. 9 p.m. Eastern on Saturday. This was not an easy game to prepare for. So this is going to be a scrap to the end. I think that this is also going to be one of those one-score games. There is going to be decided by really, I think, the defense. Whose defense is going to hold up better? And we're going to have 3-2 Los Angeles Vikings. I'm going for Arizona, of course. 3-2 3-2 Los Angeles Lakers taking on the 3-2 Anchorage Wolves. I am going to give it to LA. I do love the way LA is playing right now. Anchorage, please. Everybody's 3-2. So it's going to be, again, I think this is probably going to be one of the higher scoring games because both quarterbacks like to throw the ball, especially my friend Sully over there. So 9:15 p.m. Eastern on Saturday, I'm going to give it to Anchorage. I'm sorry, I'm going to give it to LA to win this game. Last game, Monday night, Pittsburgh Riverhawks taking on the Carolina Skyhawks at 7 p.m. Eastern on March 9th. It's going to be a good game to watch, I think. Both teams are 1-4, so they're going to be fighting to get just the second win of the season. Strongest showing, I think, would be Pittsburgh. That's why I chose them to win. Now, again, like I said, if you don't like what I say, please prove me wrong on the field. As you can see, I already got 3 wrong last week. I'm not afraid to come on and say that I was wrong. All right. Now, on to the good stuff. Now, we are going to be making Chicago-style hot dogs tonight. But before I get into all of that good stuff, if you want more information about the Simulation Football League, about the players, about where to find games and where to listen to podcasts, the different ones that we have, please visit simfl.net and VFN on YouTube for that information. But we are going to be making Chicago-style hot dogs, as I was saying before. Now, this is going to be fun because last time I went to Chicago, we went to the Taste, and it was a great experience. And of course, you had to have an Italian beef when you're in Chicago, and you have to have a Chicago dog. I was told that the fish and chips up there from Big and Little's is pretty good too. We were going to go, but when we got there, it was like really, really early in the morning, so we didn't even get a chance to go in and try. But they had like these really, really big slices, big pieces of fish fillets. It's crazy. But we're going to get started. This is your basic setup for a Chicago-style dog for people that don't know, right? So this will be considered drag through the garden. You have your steamed poppy seed bun here. You have your all-beef hot dog. You have your mustard, your yellow mustard. You got to have your diced onions, neon green relish, sport peppers, tomatoes, and top it with celery salt. So I do have all of those ingredients tonight. So funny story. I actually made like a little video, and I don't know why it didn't download here. I'm kind of sad. But I made a video of me making the poppy seed buns. Well, I took some regular store-bought buns, and I coated them with a nice egg wash, put some poppy seeds on it, baked it in a 350-degree oven for 5 minutes, and came out with these beautiful poppy seed buns. And the thing was, now when I was doing this, I was thinking about going on the website. I actually did go on the website, right? Went on the website to see how much Vienna beef is going to cost, how much the neon green relish, how much the sport peppers, all of that's going to cost, right? When I saw $97 and that did not include shipping, I said, you know what? I'm going to try to do this stuff myself. So I got my fresh steamed buns, poppy seed buns right here. I got my steamed hot dogs in here because I wanted to keep them hot as I was talking. I got my Vienna sport peppers, celery salt, neon green relish that I actually made. Now, all I did was just took some regular relish and I put 4 spoons of relish inside this container, and I put 2 drops of blue food dye or food coloring inside to give it this little funky color here. And then you have your drag through the garden part with your pickles, your onions, and your tomatoes. So we're simply just going to hook up one before we get Nelson on. I see you in the back, Nelson. Thank you for being here, sweetheart. I really appreciate you. All right. So first off, get a nice steamed bun, nice and soft. And I remember, like I said, when I had these in Chicago, they were absolutely amazing. When you get it nice and hot and straight off the truck or wherever you buy it. If that Vienna beef and everything wasn't like this, just the hot dogs, bro, it was like about $50 if you just wanted to buy the hot dogs. So I'm like, you know what? Nah, we're not doing that. So what I used is some ballpark beef franks, steamed them, got that there. Now, per instructions that we're going to try to make sure we follow the instructions, you got to put your mustard on, yellow mustard. I know somebody that's from Chicago that's in the league that does not like mustard. And I said, how? How are you from Chicago and you don't like mustard? He said he just didn't like it. I said, okay, I'm not going to even argue with you, dear. So then we go in with your onions. Chopped onions. Neon green relish on one side. Nice little helping of that. You're going to do your tomatoes. And your pickle spear. Now, again, this is called drag through the garden. And I really do feel like I'm eating a salad with my sandwich. Now, one no that you will never see, apparently anybody from Chicago do, is put ketchup on their hot dog. Okay. Got to put my sport peppers on there. So one pickle spear, 2 tomatoes, and I really love sport peppers, but just for the sake of the show, I'm only going to do a couple. No, I'm going to do 3. Because I always ask for extra sport peppers on my sandwich. I mean, my hot dog when I get them. After you put all of that deliciousness on top, you're going to top it with some celery salt. Now, you know, it's funny because I was having an argument with somebody and I was like, okay, so why aren't you allowed to put ketchup on a Chicago style dog? So because it doesn't belong there, you know, it's just not a part of it. You know, that's almost sacrilegious to do that. I said, what on it? Because you got tomato on it. You got fresh tomato. You think ketchup is made out of. So you can't put ketchup on it, but you can put celery salt and you can put fresh tomato on it. Okay. I'm not arguing with the process, you know. It's good either way. My celery salt here. Nice little sprinkling of that. And boom. You got your Chicago style dog right here. Easy peasy. Make that. That's dedicated to the Chicago Warriors of the SFL. Make that before your game. Maybe give you a little good luck. At least you know the ingredients and you know what I use. You know how to use it. And now we're going to give it a nice bite before we bring Nelson up. All right, here we go. Bro. I will say. First of all, tastes great. I'm used to all these flavors together. So it just brought back really good memories of just being in Chicago. A hot sunny day, walking down the street, tasting Chicago, tasting all kinds of stuff. That was my first time ever having like rattlesnake sausage. It was dope. But I can tell you that having that Vienna beef does make a difference. Still good. Ballpark. It's cool. You may want to probably, if you can't get the Vienna beef, like I couldn't find it locally, and ordering it was just out of bounds. I'm not paying for some minced meat, basically. I do understand because of that nice beefy quality that it has, and it will just balance that out a little bit. Fantastic. Nelson up here because I know he's at work, so we can go ahead and finish up. But if you get a chance, man, just try this at home, man. You can save yourself so much money versus just going out and getting it yourself. Like get you some blue food coloring, get you some sweet relish. You already got your neon green relish. and just get the rest of the stuff at home. Honey, save yourself some money. I'll see y'all in a bit. All right, we are back. We are back. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. I have my good friend, Mr. Nelson Lozano. What is going on, brother? It is good to see you again, man.
It's good to see you too, AJ. Sorry, I'm at work now and I got a secure location that I'm in, so I cannot share on the camera. But I'm happy to be, spending some time with you and everybody else, this evening.
Man, it has been so long since I heard your voice, brother. Like it's
Yeah, I
been
know
what?
it.
A couple years?
Yeah, maybe about 2 years or so, maybe a little
Yeah,
bit more.
yeah, something like that. Well, it's good catching up with you, man. So, what's new? Like what over the past couple years that you have been retired from the league? What's been going on with Mr. Nelson Lozano?
Uh, you know, I've been working on myself, not just on the physical standpoint, but on the spiritual standpoint. Just been, I changed careers. So now I work for AWS. So I left retail, used to be, manager for Best Buy for so long.
Right.
And now, I work within the data centers for AWS. With actually one of your players still to this day, Bernard Smith. Shout out to my boy Bernard. Um, but
No.
that's my brother. So I had an opportunity to bring him with me at AWS, and um, it's definitely been a great change for him as well. So very happy to have him along with me here, on the same team and everything like that. So it's been good. But bought a home last year, so I'm now a homeowner.
Hey.
Um, yeah, appreciate it. Thank you. And yeah, just been it's been good. God's been good to me. Since everything that's happened to me, and I healed up. I'm not 100. I deal with chronic pain, but that's something that's gonna be there. Forever, or at least whenever my body decides enough is enough. But
Right.
outside of that, yeah, everything's been good. Made the transition here. I'm involved in a lot of different groups within Amazon. So I'm part of a Latin group called DMV Latinos out here in Amazon, and then I'm also part of an employee-led group as well. Kind of using my talents. I use my talents as a general manager of the Portland Fleet at one time, and continue that trend on and somewhere else. So it's been a really good change, and still happily married. Got 17 years in the game so far. So everything has been definitely a blessing, and with the challenges that I've faced, the last few years, I'm still very blessed to be where I'm at.
Indeed, indeed, a lot of great news from you, man. I'm so happy to know that your life is going in a positive direction. I know it was hard, after the incident and everything, just mentally and physically, just getting past that. But I was, concerned, as you know, I'm your friend, so I have to be. But
Yeah.
um, it's good to know that everything is on the up and up for you, brother. So tell me, why? What was the reason for you leaving the SFL instead of? Go ahead.
Yeah, I think it was just being able to focus on myself.
Okay.
I felt like I couldn't contribute in that way that I once did. Just trying to like get myself back in order, right? Like when you go through something so big as as what I went through, it takes some time to get back to where you feel comfortable, right? I dealt with, and I still kind of deal with at times, my PTSD, but my job has helped me alleviate some of that stress that I had, with my PTSD, and just needed to kind of work on me. It's when you give so much like I did, for the team and just the experience. Because when you're a general manager and an owner, you really are focusing on the whole grand scheme of things, right? So
Yes.
not just drafting players or picking up players and as free agents, but you're also focusing once you got the players on retaining those players. And because again, consistency is always key, right? You've experienced it in Arizona, where if you can keep the team together and you can grow and build people out the way that benefits not solely just them but you, then you can get yourself a winning combination. So um I just felt like I needed to take a step back. I felt like I was doing a disservice if I would have stayed, because I just couldn't commit to the things that I felt like I wanted to commit to, right? So like the stats, I couldn't do that because I'm focusing on trying to get myself right. And same thing with just being able to keep track of a team and give it my all. I miss my guys. I miss every single person that I drafted and had, and I do miss that camaraderie. But sometimes there's things that you have to go through alone, and that was just one of those moments where I needed to focus on me. And now we fast forward a few years from then. I'm able to feel a lot more confident in just life in general, right? And I think the journey from that situation to now has shown me that there's a little bit more things that are important, at this point in time, right? Not solely just in the personal level, but in the spiritual level. So, yeah, maybe one day returning back could be a possibility, right? But as of right now, I'm just getting here to AWS. I've been here for a little bit, so trying to establish myself here. With being in technology now, it moves so
Mhm.
fast.
Yes.
AI is definitely taking over uh, in this business. So you got to kind of be in your P's and Q's. So I know that the focus that I gave at one point in time, it'd be a little bit difficult, but the door is never fully closed as per se, right?
Mhm. Indeed. And you could just come back and be a player too. Sometimes you do need to take a step back from being a general manager and having the different responsibilities and just enjoy the game itself. Just enjoy the fact that you're hearing your name called on the field. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah,
the league, I tell you what, if you ever did decide that you want to come back, I know a place that your boy is at, you know,
yeah,
we're the same
yeah,
colors that Portland, you know what I'm saying? So we just
yeah,
like home. But
yeah, yeah. No,
um,
no, no. I mean, look, like it's something that, um, again, it's not out of the realm of possibilities. It's just,
but you concentrate.
you know,
Yeah,
yeah, right now I'm trying to get my solutions architect
yeah,
cert. So like, I got my cloud practitioner cert last year. So want to kind of continue that. And it's my one thing that I do miss is just the people, and that people aspect. I think if you go into any position of leadership inside the SFL or outside the SFL, you got to realize that the people matter and that you are a people manager, right? You're helping others, and not solely just within the league, but in their personal lives. You're giving them an ear to rely on. You're creating an atmosphere that you could be really proud of. And one of the things that I was so proud of in the time with Portland is just being able to do that. I felt like we did keep a lot of our roster for the most part.
you
We
did.
cultivated great relationships, and when we decided to kind of part ways, it's just, again, it was very devastating because we had those relationships with everybody. And my love is still for everybody. I know there's still people that are still in this league now that we originally drafted, and I'm so happy to hear. Shout out to Jive. I heard Jive is doing very well, and his team, he's reached out to me and kind of been like, hey Nelson,
Yes,
look out for me. So it's always going to be that love. I'm always going to be that type of person who is here for whoever wants to reach out. But
yeah.
yeah, no, I've seen some great things in Arizona that you guys have been doing. Again, me and Bernard, chop it up here and there, about the
Yeah.
league. We also chop it up about, because me and him are both, we both like teams that we're rivals of. So we're in the same division. So we always kind of talk crap with each other. But it's it's something that, again, I'll peek in once in a while. I'll jump into a stream once in a while just to see how you guys are doing, and then might jump out, just because of the work that I'm in.
Yeah, don't want you to get in trouble, man. I understand that. Do you miss? Do you miss your show, man? Inside the league, GM Nelson Lozano. I mean, shoot, I could. I'm looking at this, and a lot of these teams aren't even around anymore, or either they
Yeah.
changed. You
Yeah.
know.
The league has changed. Look, if you would ask me who I'm going to choose in this upcoming games, I couldn't tell you who I would choose, right? Because the
Right.
league has changed so much. But I will say that, yeah, I do miss it, right? Like I told you, I'm a people person. So
You are.
that time of being able to have a show and highlight so many individuals. And I always used to think it was so funny how every time I would go through an interview with somebody, they'd be like, I'm a boring person. I ain't got nothing to talk about. And yet we would fill up 2 hours and some change over
Yep.
just having discussions. Because, one of the things I've always talked about is that everybody has a story. And I think that is something that could be highlighted, um,
Hmm.
that everybody has a story, and that everybody's able to, you know, um, everybody's able to, share that. And that's where I felt like that platform gave me that, where I was able to share, everybody's individualized stories, or get to know them, or really highlight those people that make the league.
Mhm.
You having your show for so long, I think you have the longest standing show. um you know that you've highlighted that as well within your show, each individual that really makes the league what it is, and as little as their story they felt like it was. um there's a great moments that I couldn't take away. And actually it's funny because now in the employee in the groups that I'm in now in AWS, they want to do a podcast. And I have shared with them that that's something that I've done in the past, and we can continue that trend. And they're like, oh, that's so exciting. And I told them it's honestly, if you're very genuine and you take an interest, and I used to always give the questions ahead of time, so
Yes.
guests would never feel like they're going to get a curveball. I
Yeah.
always tell them, hey, we might not follow this script all the time. If you talk about something interesting, more interesting than that's on this script, then let's go that way. And I always felt like that was fun. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, I miss my show. I will be honest with you. I definitely miss my show. I definitely miss highlighting people. I used to sit there and figure out questions and then see where we led. And I'm a big music person. So then that show also let me express my music side. If I had somebody
Mhm.
that came from a certain region, I would love to put that type of music. You know, um the owner from Houston, when he came on, right? I went ahead and played all
TR.
H Town, yeah, all H Town classics, right? In respects to that. So, and if I had somebody else from like Chicago or anything like that, like anything that allowed me to
Make it
accentuate that
personal.
person. Yes, exactly, is what I enjoyed most about having the show and having those experiences.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed. And like once the game is over, all you have is you and the avatar is on the field, that the avatar shuts down. So the people are the most important um
100%.
of all of this, and
Yeah.
people have left and came back and left and came back. And the one thing that they always say is because of the community, it's because of the friends that they made here. A lot of people are from all over the world. So in your normal life, you may have never met this person at all because your path just wouldn't have crossed. But since you all
Yeah.
gravitated towards this one esports league, and now you're talking to somebody over in Hong Kong or somebody in Australia, making friends like that. It's dope, and you getting more for your money if you really think about it in that sense. Um,
Yeah. You get to build those
but you kind of
relationships, right?
answered
And
yes, networking.
yeah.
Yeah. So you kind of answered one of my questions I was going to ask you if you had ever planned on returning to the league at any point. So I you did answer that already, and I appreciate
Yeah,
that. But
and that's
question,
what I'm saying.
if
It's
you
something that, again, I've seen the league change so much too. Not to cut you off, but I've seen the league change so
yeah,
much too. It's been crazy. Every single time I might peek in, how much as progression has happened. So that gives testament to Cam.
here's Eddie talking about turn the camera on. See, I can tell you were late because he already said he can't turn his camera on because it's in a restricted area, man. You trying to get that man fired? You gonna be paying
Yeah,
his
nah.
bills, man? He gonna move in with you?
Yeah, nah, I can't risk it. The security here is tight, when you're dealing with Amazon. So, Jeff Bezos, I'm not trying to
Yeah.
play with the guy. He got enough money to buy me in and probably buy everything else. So we definitely
It's
don't
like
want to piss that man off.
he's talking about excuses. you know, um, hey, Ernest McCrae is in the building. I don't know if you know Ernest. I think you probably were gone by
I
the
think
time
he was
Ernest got here.
just coming in when Ernest was coming in. I think he was either had a few seasons in when I before I left, or he was just starting
Mm.
off. But I do remember the name Ernest McCrae. So um and
Oh,
I'm
good.
I'm glad to hear, there's still people that are still continuing on with the league and still growing, and seeing how leadership has changed too within the league. It's been interesting to always see that progression. I always was fascinated with the history of the SFL, and just kind of how consistently moves through, um its courses in life, right? Like it has its time frames. And I think the time that I came in, that's probably the biggest growth I've seen thus far. That was that COVID years. COVID years, man, they were, I mean, we had rounds that were like filled with people. It was like, I remember that first year kind of just going through and having to watch the minor league. And then
Yep.
that was just kind of starting off because we just had so many people. And that year I just remember having one day like 5 or 6 interviews, just going through with people and talking with them and discussing and coordinating with the other leaders. So those are moments that I hold so dear, especially with the draft, you know as much as it
Man.
is for
Oh,
the
bruh,
players,
bruh.
you know
Well, about that draft thing. So it was changed. They changed it back, but for like I want to say it was the season or two, we didn't have a draft.
Oh
Now,
wow.
I had mixed feelings because while I supported, the commissioner, and at the time it was Mr. Alex West, but he's no longer commissioner. It's Miss Ellie Diomez now. She's over
Oh
the
nice.
simulation minor league. Um, but I guess his thing was trying to do something different. He wanted to. I think the player got a chance to choose the team that they really kind of wanted to, and then the teams would reach out to that individual player, and then the player got a chance to select where they wanted to go. Um, but people didn't like that. And I remember getting drafted. I remember being drafted by the Tulsa Desperados, number 8 in the draft, as a quarterback when everybody thought I was going to be a defensive end or a wide receiver. Like that
Yeah.
was a storyline, you know? And you were able to create those storylines when you had the draft and people felt like, oh man, this is what they go through in the NFL. Yeah, I'm really getting that experience now. And when it was taken away, it kind of threw it off a little bit. But since then, we're trying to get enough people in the minors so we can have multiple rounds of draftees. So far, it's only
Yeah,
been
because
one
that
round,
was
but
magic. Those were magic,
man,
those moments. That was a lot of fun, having the rooms and everything else, and you kind of watching who's picking who, and where did this person go. And there was also times where you had some curveballs, right? I mean, I think in that situation, players could still find a way to dictate, as much as they didn't want to have people know that you can a little bit dictate where you wanted to go, right? Some people stop answering you sometimes, you know.
yep,
So I felt like there was still a way that naturally happened.
yep,
Um, but that was something that was magical. Those are moments that I can never take away. I thought they were always awesome. I'll never forget when Johnny Pickler got picked up, first overall, and he's at the
oh Lord,
podium and he shakes the hand of Cam. And these are things that made it magical. And I would have been just like you, very disappointed to know if I couldn't experience that anymore. Those were just magical on both sides. When you chose somebody, it felt, and you had that connection. It felt great when you were able to have that. Um, but at the same time, too, the league at that time, there was just such, we didn't realize it. There was just such a growth that hit at one time,
yeah,
and to catch up to that unexpected growth, um, like you couldn't really keep that, maybe that same kind of situation. But those are things that I miss. I ain't gonna lie to you. I miss those draft panels. I miss, um,
yeah.
going through and choosing
Being
people. And
being pissed off when the team right before you picked your player that you had on your draft board that was right there. Oh, they used to get on my nerves so bad. Oh
but it
my
was but it
God,
was it, it gave you such a real standpoint
it
that, like,
did.
from outside the player side, right? We're now looking in the leadership side. and
Yes.
and that was something that, as much as, yes, it angered you, it was part of the fun, right? It's part of the action when they added trades. that's where I was a little bit like, ooh, you're adding a different dynamic that I'm good. Sometimes you just gotta stay where you at.
All right.
Um, but these are moments that, again, with the league, that I cherish so much. Those drafts, being on camera, sharing the panel with OGs like Eddie and everybody else, and then you got to share with newbies too, people who were just kind of starting off. I check on. I was just actually looking at Tyler's stream. I don't know if he's still with the league.
He
Um,
is. He is.
but I saw his stream that he's doing, like NCAA on his Twitch. And
Yep.
it's just it's great kind of seeing that. It's great. I know the league has changed, and there's people that probably aren't part of the league anymore. But those are moments that I think we'll all cherish, because they were just so magical in those times. Just how the draft went, the quality that went into the draft, the guessing, the mock drafts. I mean, those are always funny to look at. Somebody's like, I
Yes.
think Portland's gonna do this, and you're like, that is nowhere near what I'm about to do. But it's just fun that you even considered that I was gonna do that. And I
And
just
then
think all those
players get
moments.
mad because the players get mad because why am I not number one? I should be number one first to pick in the draft.
Exactly, exactly. Or,
Oh
or
my
you know, it says you're gonna go with this person. I'm like, why are you listening to them? They have no idea. They're just guessing like anybody else would. Like, I know what I want to do. I know the direction we want to go. It's more to it, but it's fun. Somebody considered you and tried to think as you in your decision of choosing a player. And so, is it this year they brought it back, or is that now no longer a
it
thing? Still, the
was
draft.
that yeah, this past season they brought it back.
Okay.
So we actually picked up an undrafted um free agent. I mean, yeah, no, well, yeah, she was undrafted, and she's been a baller for us. Lenore West, she has been
Okay.
a baller, halfback man. So sometimes you don't get drafted. Don't worry. You just gonna have to prove it on the field, and she definitely has been. What was it called? Mrs. Irrelevant. The last ones
Yeah.
always go. Or
Yeah, those
yes, yes.
sometimes you can hit some gold on those
But yeah,
last
man, a
picks.
few right, right. And now when you draft the rookies for the first year, they're free against your salary cap.
Oh wow, wow! What
So it
some
helps,
great
right?
things to know that how much it changed.
It has. It has. Now, that things are a little bit more expensive attribute wise. You have to budget your money because sometimes it'll take you a few weeks to save up to get a point, depending on what it is, you
Yeah,
know, on something. And it only makes you a certain percentage better. You know what I mean? So you just got to be very mindful about it. And since this is a brand new game, it's not like APF where you're adding
yeah,
animations, to get the footsteps. No, bro. You're going to have to figure that out. On this
yeah,
one, you have to play with your attributes to try to guess which ones work for you and which ones really don't. So
yeah,
it's a good way to keep your mental going, to keep you interested, to
yeah,
keep that championship revolving, because for a while it was just Baltimore winning everything. You know what I mean? Then it switched over to Mexico City, so when you implement the new game, now everybody has kind of like an even playing ground, to figure things
yeah.
out. So it's been dope, you know.
Well,
Um
that's great. That's great that the league is always
yes.
evolving, and that's the part that's beautiful about it. Not everybody's always going to be in accordance and agree. And I think that from the backside of things, I feel like you see that more than when you're just a player, right? When you're just a player, you don't really see that the back end of things, how things can be at times a little cutthroat. Some people can step on others' toes. Ideas can be thrown that people felt, could be in a benefit of one individual versus the overall course of
Mhm.
everybody. But at the end of the day, these are moments that I do cherish. Those were great to peek behind, see what was there. And then I thought it was beautiful that we were always encouraged to take this product and then make it our own, with our own shows, our own content, it built up the momentum going into to the next week or the next game or the next situation. So my time with the league was so beautiful, and I enjoyed it. And like I said, the podcasting was just the cherry on top to be able to share a little bit of myself with the league. And of course, those are moments I miss, but again, we'll see when we can get that
I
to
think,
happen again.
you know, it's funny you should mention that because Eddie and Brett's show, of course, you have mine, but then you have The Streets Are Talking podcast. You have Deep Dive with, this is Mike O'Neill's podcast. He is the owner of Chicago Warriors. And this is his podcast that he does. It's actually kind of AI inspired where he tells them and they kind of work out what to say. And then Cam's show on Tuesday is basically like a highlight show, SFL Blitz. So really that's the only, and then we have another group that's coming out. Oh no, Eddie, if you're still in the room, what is the new show that's supposed to be coming out very soon? So we don't have a lot of people that's doing a lot of content, like back in the day. We had like a lot of people. We had to have a whole calendar where we kind of picked the days that we were going to have it so everybody can have their moment to shine. And that's
Yeah.
one thing I will say that the league is lacking. It's just these few shows, but when we don't have anything, like if I didn't have a show tonight, we wouldn't have had any content. If Eddie doesn't have a show, and I don't have a show, or and then they say if Mike O'Neill decides that he didn't want to have one, then it's only one thing that we have, which is the SFL Blitz. So
Yeah.
even the articles that we used to write, Ellie Diomes, she writes articles for the SFLM, but we just don't have that engagement like we used to. And some people are so opinionated about like my show or about Eddie's show and how they would like to see or what they would like to see. I'm like, well, why don't you create your own? That way it'll be another aspect, another avenue for people to enjoy the product.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's anything in life, right? People love
Yeah.
to give opinions, but when it's now to meet, the rubber meets the road, a lot of folks don't have that initiative to do that. Which is fine. Not everybody can be in front of a microphone, okay? Like, we know that's not something that everybody has an attribute to, the gift of gab, right? You have to be entertaining, you have to be there. And yeah, people are going to have their opinions, but you kind of take those things and see what's relevant, and what some of it is just to kind of, there's some people who are just bitter. There's nothing you can do. Like, I can do everything you ask for, and you still find something to complain about. Those aren't the people that I'm catering my shows to. I'm catering to those who really want
Yes.
to enjoy the moment. And I think if you, in my case, the whole point of my show was one, to highlight the league, but then highlight those individuals that make the league. And
Yes.
and then have fun with my music. Like I said, I have music. I'll get into the mood, turn off some lights. Get myself a little, whatever that got me chilled out, and then we enjoy the moment. And I think those were things that, like, I miss the most of. And again, it's sad to hear that maybe not as many are willing to do it anymore, but the power's in their hands. Nobody's gonna tell you not to, right?
Right.
Um, so
Just
then
do
it's
it.
just,
That's the thing.
yeah,
And I
just
think
do it.
people are so afraid to be rejected, you know. And I think that is the main thing. That's not something that you should ever really focus on because there are going to be people that don't like you. There are going to be people that don't like your product or what you're trying to say or whatever. You
Yeah.
have to be in your own mind like what I'm doing is good. What I'm doing is something that I want to do and I enjoy doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if people come, you will gravitate and your content will speak to who will absorb it, right? Not
Yeah.
everybody is going to absorb it, and you don't want everybody to absorb it, and then try to pick it apart, like you were saying earlier. You know,
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
just
you gotta
put
be
it out
you
there.
too. You know what I'm saying? You gotta be you.
You do
Nobody will hate on somebody who's being authentic, who is themselves.
genuine,
If you
yes,
yourself and you're authentic, and people can they'll gravitate to that. And
yeah,
like I said, it's always been who I am. Like, I'm comfortable in my skin. I know who I am. I know what I've gone through, and it's defined the person I am today. So if somebody's like, I ain't like your show, hey, that's all good, baby. Just don't listen to it if you don't want to. But if you are gonna check it in, then I'm also appreciative as well. Just again, I don't take nothing personal. It's just everybody has their opinions. What they say, opinions are like assholes. Everybody got one, so it's the same concept here. Everybody gonna have something to say, and you just gotta rock with the ones that are honestly constructive and the ones that are gonna help you be better. You filter that just like anything in life. The internet is filled with trolls, and you just gotta filter out the things that you really are constructive, and it's going to make you a better person. But I'm
Indeed.
not a person to not hear constructive criticism, because that also helps you improve yourself. I'm also not a person that turns a blind eye because somebody got something tough to say. If it's something
Yes.
that's relevant and that's something that's going to help me be better, then you need to swallow that humble pill and kind of reevaluate, and maybe consider something
What they're
that'll help you
saying.
improve. Yeah, maybe help you get
Exactly.
improvement overall. So, no, I mean, like I said, it's exciting to hear what's happening with the league. It's exciting
Yeah.
to hear some of the things that's going on. Very, very happy to see you, Eddie, and some folks that have been here for so long, still being, keeping the train strong. Because sometimes life can mimic what's happening in the league, and like in my situation, had to take a step back to get
Yeah.
myself right, so I can present myself again the same way, the Nelson that you knew before, not the Nelson that went through a transition.
Indeed. Well, you know me, I'm gonna accept you either way. But I'm really glad to see you on the better side of that. That better side of that coin. Last question I got, because like I said, I know you at work. Um, from your perspective of being a GM, what is some advice that you would like to give some people from your perspective of being a GM? Of course, like we established, things have changed. Um, but I think the general way that you would be a GM has not. So share with the new people. I think Jesse Fitz is actually one of our newer GMs of the league, So what's some good advice
Congratulations
that you
to Jesse Fitz.
have? Hey.
um I say this, right? Whenever you take a position of leadership, you need to understand that you need to take your own personal gain, your own personal mindset out of it. You are trying to create an environment that's going to make others want to come to you, right? So like the big thing for me is, how do I make it so personable to others, to where the brand of the team is important. You got to take that like everybody wants to win a chip. That's something that like
Yes.
everybody has that mindset, right? So you realize that, like I told you, you get into that business to be a people person. Like, if you have to have conversations, you have to make it memorable. I remember at times where there were teams who would just send you a text. They would never want to take the time to speak to you as a person, as an individual. And sometimes taking that standpoint, and again, everybody has their own comfort level. There's also people who like to just have text, and that's fine. But if you can make it personable, if you can make
Yeah.
it real, come alive, then that investment comes towards you. And as a leader, I always talked about retention. Retention was key. We talked about it, consistency, having a roster that doesn't change as often, because when it changes or it becomes too unstable, and you can see that on the field. You would have players who weren't developed at the point where you needed them to be, and then you ended up not having strong. You saw those weaknesses in your team. So, my thing for the newer GMs that I would share is be that people person. You're in a people business, whether it's a game or not. You're in the business of people. So how do you manage that? How do you make it more personable? How do you make it more memorable? How do you make this person, when the season ends and it wasn't all that great, what can they hold on to that makes your brand more stronger than others? And there's great teams out here. I mean, and great owners. So it's like, again, what separates you from them is has to be that people aspect, and how you really emphasize that, and realize that you're not just these aren't just players that you're picking up that are digital, right? There's real people behind it. And how can you make it memorable to them, because they're paying customers, right? And
Yeah.
they got a choice. So you definitely have to cater to them and realize that. And if you're having a bad day or you're having real stuff happen at home, that has to be separated from the business. It has to be separated from the SFL because everybody got real stuff they going through. That's life. But we all
That's it,
chose to
baby.
be in this league together to enjoy ourselves and to get the best out of it. So I think it's just things that just being in a leadership position, you need to hold that with more value. That when you speak to somebody, regard them as people because they are people. They aren't just a player that you're manipulating to get better for your benefit. This is a partnership. And that's something that, the newer GMs I like to share is having that partnership and then follow up. I think follow ups are always huge. I was always big on sending surveys at the end of the season. What can I do to get better? What can I do to be a better GM for you? What can I do to improve the experience for you as a paying customer to keep your business essentially, right? And I think that's where I think that's where sometimes that falls on the wayside, and we have real life, so I get it with those, but just remember you took a responsibility and you got to own that responsibility. And if you have a lot of people leaving your business, then you have to have some self-reflection and being like, hey, what can I do to be a better leader in my space? So that's something I share with a lot of these GMs is just realize what you signed yourself up for, and know that you have to be that face and you have to create that energy and the atmosphere that you want, because at the end of the day it's going to affect you how you want to pick up your roster or even picking up players. Players talk. If you ain't treating them right, or you ain't certain things like that, and add on top of that you losing, you will have a
Okay.
real big struggle trying to pick somebody up. So if you can build an environment that people can know, like, hey, things might not be going great on the field, but outside of that, the things that I get in return have those values. Then that's something that I teach, younger GMs or newer GMs, or even people who are seasoned that sometimes may forget what you signed yourself up for. And that's my advice to them.
Dope, man. I love this conversation, Nelson. I miss you so much, and I'm so glad that you made some time for me tonight. I hope that this won't be the last time that we hear from you. I know I can DM you and things of that nature, but you've always been one of the people that gave really good advice and was always sincere. It wasn't manipulative in any way. You wasn't trying to blow smoke, but you always kept it real too. I remember some times where I've seen you very upset about some things going on, man, but it was
Yeah.
just your passion, it was your drive, it was your tenacity and your spirit that kept the Portland Fleet afloat, man.
Yeah, for
So
real. Those are challenging
if you
times, being in
yeah,
Portland and, trying to figure it out,
mm,
but those are times that I would never give back. I loved every moment of it. I loved every engagement I did, especially with yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, these are relationships that I still hold dear. And I'm still here. My door's still open for folks that want to reach out. I know it was pretty bad before. I think some folks reached out to me to wanting me to see if I was interested in coming back. Again, I hope folks who hear this understand that I was going through some real stuff, in my own
yeah,
personal life, trying to transition into a new career, trying to recover from something that is, a lot of folks will buck under, you know what I'm saying? Like, being stabbed multiple times and going through, the courts and going through cases and going through physical therapy and going through regular therapy. It's a lot that goes into these things. And to those that might have reached out, that if I didn't reach back out, I apologize. It's not, don't take it personal. It's just that I had to take a step back to get where I'm at now, because the person I was then to the person I am now, it took time, and it took a lot of deep diving, and also took a lot of that spirituality to kind of get myself right with God, to know that, hey, life could change in a second, and to I have seen some people in the league have passed away, and that's what I'm talking about. Like, life is just short, and you want to cherish those moments with everybody, and just
you do.
appreciate the moments you get. So
Two things make diamonds: pressure and time. And you, sir, have been under both. You've had time. And I can't wait to see what the future holds for you, Nelson. And listen, if you need some help with that AWS podcast, they looking to hire your sister because I'm trying to work from home. So
Ain't we
Y'all
all?
need
Ain't
some
we all,
help?
man?
Please let
It
me
sucks right now, man. Every place, man, they taking that away. Now they want hybrid.
know.
Spend some time in the office.
I
We want
know.
to see your
You
face.
gonna have to bring, yeah.
So,
You gonna have to come to work
you
at some
know,
point.
yeah, I know. My wife, she does. She works for LabCorp, so she actually got to stay after the whole COVID thing. Stay at home. So I'm very
Nice.
jealous of her being able to stay at home. But all these jobs nowadays, they want you, and it's crazy. They call it hybrid, but they still want you in the office like 3, 4 times a week. And then one day at home, it's like, nah, they ain't really hybrid, man. That's you really just letting me go home early. So but definitely, yeah, like I said, I mean, my door's open, AJ. I'm now on Discord again. So if folks do want to reach out, I know I had a couple folks see that I have, been back online. Um, so just reach out to me. I'm happy to talk, happy to communicate. I hold no animosity towards anybody. So just reach out. I'm here, and like you said, I think that's what I valued the most was the people behind the SFL. Some great people with great stories, and that's what makes the league go around. So I appreciate it, AJ. And everybody who's on the show. I appreciate you too. Shout outs to Eddie. But shout outs to my boy Bernard and some of the ex Portland Fleet members out there. If y'all listening, I still got love for y'all. So
Awesome, man. Well, I'm gonna let you get back to work, sir, and I'm gonna go ahead and end the show so I can finish up this hot dog I've been nursing.
I
So,
know that joint gonna be lukewarm at this point.
I'm telling you, back in the microwave. But we'll talk soon, Nelson.
All
Thank
right,
you.
have a good one, AJ. All right,
You
everybody.
too, man.
All right.
All right, everybody. That was Nelson Lozano, one of my good friends. He was GM of Portland Fleet back when they were a team in the SFL. As you hear, fantastic person. If you ever have any issues that you just need somebody to talk to, he's a very, very good ear to bend. But I really, really hope that you enjoyed the show tonight. I wanted to try to keep it a little short, but you know me, nothing's ever short except me. But I hope that you enjoyed the podcast this evening. I am looking forward to bringing you another great podcast next week, y'all. But until then, y'all stay safe, treat each other well. For Nelson, Striker, or Act. Put your goodbyes in the chat. I've run across the screen.
Piece of me, piece of my, took some time. I'm just reaping what I sow. So for sure, brand new road. That's just for me and my boy. Keep secure, 4x4. G6 bleep up on my hands. I'm no friend. Pay for keys, can't pay for saving me. In the back when the windows tint. Yeah, cause they know too much. Yeah, they know too much. Tryna come take on me. And my 40 they don't miss. They ain't even thought this far. It's never question, yeah. Just like I know. Made room for you. You got me off for thought. You had no place to trust. Just like you told. Just like we roll. Now we with Bentley trucks. Now there's no saving us. Piece of me, piece of mine. Took some time. I'm just reaping what I saw. So for sure, brand new road. That's just for me and my bro. Keep secure, 4x4. G6 bleep up on my hands. I'm no friend. Pay for keys, can't pay for time.